Alright, so we're back. And you're wondering, where you been, Regulate Traveler? It's been a few days. You've been putting them on kind of steady. This is true. Well, I've been working on the CJ. And nothing that was really warranted filming. So I didn't. I was just trying to get crap done. Let some air into this place because it's like trying to be hot and stuff. So what have we done to the CJ? Well, we got both seats in here. Okay, we had to modify this bracket. We did the crudest, childlike modification job to the brackets that you could possibly imagine. But it works. It's not stupid if it works. Alright, so got that in there. Finally got the passenger seat. Got it mounted in there. It sits a little higher than the driver's seat, but that's fine. I don't care. It's fine. We're not worried about it. Alright. We got insurance on this unit. We got a tag for this unit. Okay. Got the tail lights finally hooked up. The best I could get was running lights, brake lights, and one blinker. There appears to be some problems in my fuse box, and Regulate Traveler isn't effing with that right now. Alright, I turn right most of the time anyway, so that's really all I need, and most people that have working blinkers don't use them, so we're fine. We're not worried about it. We got brake lights, tail lights, running lights. Got us the brand new lights set up. They're nice and working. Didn't bother hooking up the backup light because it's a Jeep. Alright, I don't need to see. I don't need a backup light. Alright. Let's see. We got all these put on. Once again, didn't worry about wiring them up yet. Just wanted to put them on there to cover the holes. Well, there's a drawer open that's trying to kill me. These seats are actually really comfortable. I think they look 10 times better than those high back seats. It just throws me off on a seat in a Cj5 or something that's like this tall. And I've never used a headrest on any vehicle that I've ever sat in. I've never leaned my head back against it. So I'm very pro short back seats. The damn Jeep, I've been driving it around quite a bit actually on these extremely dry rotted tires. And the damn thing is performing flawlessly. It kicks out of third a little bit, so you have to keep your hand rested on it when you go into third if you're gonna, hoss it any. But other than that, that's the only real thing that it's done while driving it that didn't fancy me, right? I mean, this damn thing's got plenty of power. This is why I bought it, because it was a straight 6 and a 4-speed. This thing is just, it's a barrel of monkeys. I'm gonna have to modify some of my hatred for the AMCs, alright? It still ain't a Willys, okay? That's a Willys. It's not a Willys, okay? But I mean, what is besides a Willys, right? This damn thing is sick. I like it even more than I thought that I would. I'm low-key ashamed of myself for having to say that. But regardless, it is what it is. We've got, the brakes are working good. It'll lock up and slide, so that's good. It actually rides fairly good. It needs shocks, but they're still doing their job right now, so we're going to leave them alone. Still haven't gotten my windshield because just Quadra-Check is worthless. And I tried to call them earlier. After being on hold for about 20 minutes, it tells you, because, this is how organized they are, it tells you your number, 12 in line for whoever to talk to. So I'm going to have to try to figure that out. I've come to the conclusion that there is no reason to put, if they ever do send me the windshield, that there's no reason to put a new piece of glass in this windshield frame, because this windshield frame is a bit crappy. It's got some rust in it over here along the bottom. Pretty bad over here on the passenger side. And I just don't think it makes sense to put a brand new piece of glass in a frame that's this shitty. So I'm gonna see about finding, I've got a buddy of mine that's got a windshield frame that he says his hinges are stuck to, that he can't get the hinges off, but that I could get that one from him. So, but it's not supposed to be rusted. The only spot of rust underneath the windshield is this little corner right here. So it's actually not too bad. I'll probably just fill that with some silicone or something to keep water from getting into my spot, into the dash right there. My transfer case yoke is puking oil, which is just awesome. So I'm going to have to get that sealed and fix that, which I'm greatly looking forward to. I think it'll be a joy. But it's not the end of the world. Get the leak manageable. The wonderful AMC 20 with its just absolute horrendous cork gasket design, it's leaking, which I knew it would, but I was hoping it would hold out a little bit longer since I changed the cover and cleaned everything. There's a video showing that. Well, it's leaking already, but it's a very small, mild leak, and these rigs leaked when they were new. I've seen pictures of them in dealerships, even Willys, where they had metal pans laying underneath them in the dealership because they're freaking leaking all over the floor. So as long as it's not pouring, as long as it's a mild leak, I'm all right with it. So the yoke is kind of aggressive, so probably had to get that at some point. But the good news here is that I was able to achieve something that I didn't think was achievable, which most things aren't for Red Clay Traveler, but I was able to track down an item that I've been looking for quite some time. Since November of last year, as a matter of fact. And it actually was 30 minutes from my abode, which is even nicer. So, feller popped up on Facebook Marketplace with a hardtop, 30 minutes from where I live. The last one I saw was in Kentucky. There was one up in Tennessee that was busted, cracked all to hell through here. And they still wanted an arm and a leg, a war pension for it. But this one is an Acme hardtop. And it's got a few issues. It's got this little chunk broke out of it right there. But overall, it's not cracked all up. It's got all the hardware. My back glass won't open anyway because I've got that spare tire mounted there. I'd have to make a swinging tire mount to be able to open the back glass. But got the doors too over here, which I'll probably drive it a lot of the time without the doors on it, but regardless, I just wanted a hardtop. That way we can put a radio in it, which would be nice, so it's not going to get rained on if I leave it outside. Put a radio in it, get some Molly Hatchet cranked way up loud, when you're cruising around in your Jeep, you want to crank your Molly Hatchet, your Marvin Gaye, you want to get it just cranked up, But anyway, I'm going to rattle can this thing. We're going to do another rattle can restoration on this hardtop because, like I say, it's faded. So I got some paint. We're going to paint it gloss black. It'll look good on the orange Cj5. So that's what I'm fixing to do right now, as a matter of fact. I'm going to brush off some of this crap. We're not even going to worry about giving it a real bath because it's actually fairly clean. It's just faded real bad. So I'm gonna probably just paint it where it sits right here. To hell with it. And lift it up onto some boards. And then get to painting this sucker. Because it ain't gonna paint itself, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to, no matter how much we want it to. It's not. All the glass is in it. The gaskets are kind of jacked. But I'm not gonna worry about that either. Alright? We're trying to do good enough for government work here. Alright? We're not trying to impress. If you're not impressed with the Cj5, then there's nothing that will impress you. So we're going to see about getting this sucker lifted up, and we're going to paint this mofo right now. So let me get it set up, and I will be back with you shortly. All right, so we're going to go ahead and paint this mofo. We're using my favorite paint, Rust-Oleum protective enamel. This is gloss. We're going to make it shiny. It's gonna look so damn good. It's gonna look like Van Gogh painted this mofo. I'm telling you, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I know you're jealous right now. Just calm down. It's all right. I don't think you know how long I've been looking for this hardtop, except for the fact that I've already told you how long I was looking for it. But I'm telling you, this is rare as hen's teeth, because this is for the later model Cj5s. You can find a hardtop anywhere for the earlier 75 and earlier Cj5s, or for a Cj7. But a hardtop for a 1976 through 83 Cj5 is hen's teeth, people, hen's teeth. So we're going to see what we can't do to freshen this mofo back up. We're going to get it slammed on the Jeep once all this dries. I've got to get the other windshield once again, so there's really actually no reason to put it on the Jeep till I have the windshield frame. I can always put the windshield glass in later. But yeah, let's get to it. Let's do this. So just take a look at how faded this mofo is, and we're going to see about painting it glossy. It's going to be great. It's going to be grand. Plus, there's plenty of bugs out here that'll land in the paint and make it look awesome. I got 4 cans of this crap, so I'm hoping I want to do a couple layers on it. I've never been a big fan of fiberglass, much of anything, because it's so brittle and it breaks, but it is, if you take care of it even slightly, it does hold up pretty good. Now I can always go back and fill some of these. There's a couple chips in the top, in the coating, so I can always go back and fill that with some fiberglass resin and stuff, and I can patch this over here where it's chipped with some fiberglass. I've actually worked with fiberglass a few times on some canoes and stuff, so it's fun, it's great. But since this Jeep is for our personal pleasure, we're not worried about making it showroom here. We're just trying to get it functional. I'm sunburned on the top of my head because I'm bald, and I've been driving the Cj5 around enough without a hat on, because there's so much freaking wind that you can't wear a hat, and I'm not going to be seen wearing a hat backwards because I'm not a child. So it should dry fairly quick out here in the direct sun as well, so that's kind of handy as well. This Rust-Oleum dries fairly quickly. It's kind of like that about it as well. So while we're doing this, why don't we have a little bit of a history talk? So I was down at the cigar shop talking to a friend of mine named Rob, who was a lawyer. Really nice guy, really smart guy. And he's one of the few guys that I know that I can just ramble about history with relentlessly. And he is quite the conversationalist. He's quite fun to talk to. And he mentioned something that I hadn't thought of in a long time, which was the story of the Canadian trapper up in the Yukon Territory that was known as the Mad Trapper of Rat River. And once he started talking about it, I remember, I'm like, yeah, I remember hearing about this guy. This guy was something else, this Mad Trapper guy. He was something. So basically, the gist of the story is that there's this guy named, allegedly, Albert Johnson. Shows up in this Yukon Territory, kind of in the middle of nowhere. He runs into, this would be 1931. So this is, it's fairly early. It's still very wild. A lot of guys out there trapping fur and living out in the wilderness. And this guy shows up. He runs into a local, basically this would have been the precursor to the Mounties. And he runs into this guy and he says, be sure and get your permit for you to be trapping. You got to have a permit to be trapping out here in this territory, which I find funny that in 1931, in the middle of nowhere, that even then the feds are trying to make you have a permit to trap. I think it's awesome. But anyway, regardless, he doesn't really say much. He just kind of nods, and goes about his day. Well, about 6 months later, the authorities get notice that there's some trap lines being from the native Canadians, the indigenous people, that there are some trap lines that are being pulled out of the water and sprung and hung on trees and stuff. So basically he's poaching trap lines, or at least unhooking them so that they're not stealing any game possibly from his trap lines. And I forgive you for how bright it is out here, but this is what we had to work with. So deal with it. Anyway, so they're poaching trap lines. He is. So they show up to his cabin. He built a cabin out way the hell out. It's like 150 miles from like the closest fort. Now the main fort in this area was called Fort McPherson. So that's where a lot of travel was going in and out of. But regardless, so the authorities show up. They tell him, like, you need to come out here, you need to talk to us. And this guy won't talk. Albert Johnson doesn't say a word. He doesn't speak, doesn't make any noises. One of the cops, they called them constables, he comes up to the door and he looks through the crack in the door and he says he just sees a wide-eyed man just standing there staring at him through the door crack. And this guy's he's not responding, he's not saying anything, he's not fighting, he's not saying anything, he's just not in the mood. He just don't want to deal with him. So anyway, they make the journey back by sled dog back to where they needed to go, which I think they did go back to Fort McPherson, but regardless, they get a few more guys, they come back. Constable comes up to the door, they yell for him, come out, don't make it tough on yourself. There's a bunch of us out here, there's like 8 of them. They're like, there's 8 of us out here, don't make it hard on yourself. Start beating on the door. Well, Albert Johnson just shoots that constable in the chest through the door. Never says a word. Doesn't say a word. So now you've got this firefight going on. And apparently Albert Johnson, whoever he was a hell of a good outdoorsman, a really good shot. And he's given these police constables a hell of a time. So they fight for about 15 hours, 12, 15 hours. And then they finally give up. They actually get to the point where they throw a bundle of dynamite against his cabin and blow the roof and the walls out of his cabin. And they think he's dead. And this is, from the accounts I've read, this is the only time they actually heard anything from Albert Johnson. All they heard was him laughing. He's just hysterically laughing as his cabin's blown to pieces, and he comes out and he's still fighting. He's got a gun in both hands. Okay, so he's a bit of a hard ass, this Albert Johnson. And so anyway, they end up retreating. The police do. To go get help elsewhere. Go get more guys, because they can't handle this one man. So they leave. They come back a couple days later, 2 or 3 days later, I think. And he's not there. He's not in the cabin, in the remnants of the cabin. He's nowhere to be found. And so they start trying to track him. Keep in mind that it's negative 40 degrees, all right? Negative 40 Fahrenheit. Negative 40, all right? It's cold as hell. This guy's trekking through the wilderness by himself, being chased. So they end up actually tracking him, but this guy's so damn good that they're having trouble tracking him, because what he was doing was he was getting onto the frozen rivers and following moose tracks, walking in their path, leaving almost no trace of himself, and he was actively backtracking, covering his steps. He was going all out. They come up on him, they encounter him again, they get in another firefight. He kills, I think, 1 or 2 of these constables, slips off into the wilderness again. Finally, they resort to bringing in a bush pilot on a ski plane who was actually a World War I fighter ace. He was a hard ass in his own right, and he's the Canadian pilot who is loosely attributed with killing the Red Baron. Now, that's a whole different history lesson for a different time. It's most certain that this Canadian fighter ace, while impressive and an ace, is not responsible for killing the Red Baron. It's almost certain at this point that he was killed by a group of Australians on the ground who were firing at the Red Baron while he was in a dogfight with this fighter ace. But regardless, we can talk about that another time. Regardless, he pinpoints where Albert Johnson is. They encircle him. He's got a gun in both hands again, and he's just giving them hell, right? Well, they just riddle him. They just come up, they just do like they did Babyface Nelson, and they just cut him in half, basically. So they try to identify who he is. He's got no identifying paper. He's got over $2,000. This is 1931, 32 now. He's got over $2,000 in American and Canadian money. He's got gold. He's got 149 rounds of ammunition. And that's pretty much it. That's all he had on his person. They went through his cabin. There's nothing really there that tells you who he is. The only reason they think that his name was Albert Johnson is because some other trappers in the area had remembered him from the previous season, and they said that his name was Albert Johnson. There's no concrete documented proof, nothing that says that that's actually what. They don't know where he was from. They believe he was Scandinavian because when he did speak, which was very rare, he had a little bit of a Scandinavian accent. He had elaborate teeth work done, a gold bridge on one side of his mouth that was highly unusual at the time. Most people weren't getting dental work of any kind, let alone to this level. And the only places generally agreed upon that would have done this level of work would have been somewhere in Chicago, New York, London, places like that, like big epicenters. So they bury him. They have no idea who he really was. They bury him. They've exhumed his body, though, in, I think, 2008 or 9 or something, to try to figure out who the hell this guy is, because there's a list of people that they thought that it could be. So they wanted to compare his DNA to these people's relatives to see if it was them. He's not. It's not any of those guys. So when they exhumed him, all they know for sure is it's not any one of the 3 or 4 people that they thought that it had to be one of them. So this is, to me, it's just highly fascinating. He's trekking through the wilderness, negative 40-degree weather, being chased by multiple groups of men on sled dogs. He's on foot. And he's just apparently a hell of a mountain man, and they just can't catch up to him. So I hadn't thought of this story in a long time, so I was really glad that my buddy Rob mentioned it, because it's a good story, it's interesting, and I like a bit of mystery in my history from time to time, because if you know everything about what happened, that's not as much fun, You gotta leave a little mystery in there. But maybe if they could find the Golden Gate Killer, or whatever that guy's name was in California, through DNA from actually like Ancestry.com, or not Ancestry.com, it was from like the DNA research that people do for their lineage or whatever. That's how they found him. So maybe they can do that with the man known as Albert Johnson, the Mad Trapper of Rat River. You know what I'm saying? It'd be kind of cool. Important to get as many runs in the paint as you possibly can. That way people know that you did it right. That's really what we're going for. We don't want people to know that that it was even considered to do it correctly. But it's going to look a hell of a lot better than it did. So I'm going to continue painting this, and then I'll get back with you. Sounds like a plan. All right, so we got it painted black. It's out here drying, baking in the sun. Give it that powder coat finish from the heat. But regardless, we got it painted. It looks pretty good. It's not too shabby. Like I say, I got enough paint to where once it's on the Jeep, if I see some spots I want to touch up, I can. I went ahead and crudely painted the door, that door, and driver's door. Crudely, I might add. And I'm sweating like a woman of ill repute in church. So I'm gonna head back down to the shop, put the paint up, and I even got a can of orange that's probably not even close to the same color orange as the Jeep is, so I can touch up some spots on the Jeep. So yeah. But anyway, it shouldn't take long to dry, so I'll wait till this evening. Once that's dry, and we'll slam that mofo up onto the 5. And then, like I said, we won't attach it because we don't have the windshield yet. But we'll have what we need when we do have the windshield. I got this can of orange here. I don't know if it's the right color orange. It's probably too light. I don't care. I'm just going to touch up the spots that need touching up on the Jeep with it at some point. But anyway, Reclay Traveler has made great progress. I should be going camping with a buddy of mine on Thursday. So today's Tuesday. So we should be going camping on Thursday night. And I'm planning on taking the 5. That's what I'm planning on. Even if I don't have the hardtop on it yet, I'll drive it up there with no windshield. I don't give a damn. I don't care. I don't care. Put your Ray-Bans on and just don't worry about it. I also want to paint my Jeep letters white. And my hands are ultra steady, so I think that'd be good to just do with a brush. Because I think that'd give it that nice retro vibe. But anyway, until next time, until the next video, keep on keeping on. And remember, Willys for life, Jeep for life. Just do it. Just get it. Be resilient, like the Mad Trapper of Rat River. Just be resilient, people. Just keep on keeping on. If you like what you hear, you like what you see, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. I'll catch you on the flip side. Get it.